Good evening, guys. Hello all our friends, followers and channel members. So we're back tonight. We had planned to do this flight yesterday, but following the update with Microsoft's simulator, I had a huge problem in that instead of just downloading a small little patch, I ended up downloading about 30 gigabytes of data, which was not fun. So the test flight that we planned last night, we've had to delay 24 hours, so here we are again. Once again, we are in Canada and looking for some bad weather to test out this new custom. Oh, sorry, I need to stop calling it that. This is no longer the custom version. This is the experimental version, as it is now called. So the experimental version is the one that we're flying today, available to download now through FlyByWire's own installer. Head over to the FlyByWire site and grab yourself this version. This features the new custom autopilot as well as some other things as well, but very importantly we're going to test out tonight the auto land, so looking forward to checking that out. I don't know if you guys can hear. Let me just turn up the simulator volume just for a moment. So hopefully now you can hear it is a little bit windy where we are. So we're going from Halifax to St John's International. That's our route today, and you're essentially all my test subjects. You're our test passengers for this fly-by-wire latest experimental build. So let's get on board, where it should hopefully be warmer and a lot less windy. Oh, there we go. That's much nicer already. All right, so good afternoon to everybody who is sat in the chat already. Glad we've got the simulator working again, and we can get this working for you. So we're going to get the fly pad on, and I'm going to enter the company name. Let's get that done. Let's get that set up. Easyjetsimpilot. There we go. We're not on VATSIM or anything like that tonight. I wouldn't dare try out flying on VATSIM in a brand new experimental version. Not just yet. Anyway, good evening, Oki. Good evening, Simon. So let's go back to the dashboard. Import the information from SimBrief. So we're heading over from here in Halifax over to St John's over there. It's about an hour and 10-minute flight. But let's have a look at the weather as it currently stands. So, all right, we have currently got winds here in Halifax, 360, gusting 27. So it's within limits. We can depart with that. The maximum takeoff limitation is 35, so we're okay for that. 15 square miles visibility, overcast 1,600 feet. We'll obviously be taking off with anti-ice turned on. Let's then have a look at how things are going to be for our arrival. Well, technically this is beyond the limits of certainly an autopilot landing. Gusting 39, so that's well, that's quite strong. It's also going to be a little bit of a crosswind as well as we coming in, and the visibility is a quarter mile and lots of cloud, etc. We've also got runway visibility ranges. I'm not going to take too much into consideration with regards to those. I know the aircraft will be able to bring us in, even though technically it may be beyond the limits in real life. Not so much beyond the limits, but beyond the limitations of the actual approach and what would be allowed in the real world. But we're not in the real world; we're in the simulator, so we'll fly there anyway. Right, let's have a look at getting the aircraft set up. We'll call some ground services as well. Let's click on that, and we can also refuel in real time as well. There, that's now available. So let's call our external power. Let's get the batteries turned on. Batteries 1 and 2 coming on, and external power, is that now on its way? Here it comes. Simon, good evening again, sir. Thank you very much for your very kind donation. And Simon says, happy that tonight's stream is coming through. Just flew with this version from is that Luton to Bremen. Everything went perfectly fine, and wishing us all the best. Oh, that's very kind of you, Simon, and again, thank you very much for your €5 donation there. Really is appreciated. Let's hope we get something similar then. Right, GPU is now connected. So I'm going to go ahead, flick on the external power, crew oxygen supply, get those ideas aligning. So all the screens are self-testing. So far, so good. We'll get the nav lights on, get the no smoking signs, turn on the arm the emergency exit signs. We don't turn on the fuel pumps yet, and we don't turn on the seatbelt signs yet, because now we're going to have a quick look at our fuel. We want to get that fully loaded, and all the fuel needs to be loaded before we put the seatbelt signs and the fuel pumps on. So if I now come to the dispatch, the operational flight plan, let's have a look how much fuel we want to take with us. So we want to take a planned block fuel of 4539. Now, given that the weather is pretty rubbish at our destination, I'm going to actually chuck an extra ton on board for that. So, planned block fuel is 4539, so I'm going to take 5539. So if we now go to our fuel page, we can come in here and type in here, we want to take 5539. Our fuel loader already balances that out as to where it's going to go. Real fuel time, instant, fast or real. Let's set that to real, because we've got lots of things that we're going to set up as we do this anyway. And so estimated time to complete that is 5 minutes. There we go, and you can see we're actually defueling. Now this is a little bug in the, well, not a bug, but it's just the way the default setup is for the simulator. You've probably noticed whenever you load into the A320, whether it be the fly-by-wire or the default vanilla aircraft, it's always got 9.5 tons of fuel in it. Well, 9.5 tons if the aircraft had just come in for landing is a heck of a lot. So it would be nice if we could start with around 1.5–2 tons of fuel, even up to 3 tons of fuel would be quite nice. But anyway, the refuelers are doing their job, and we'll get some catering. It's a test flight. We need alcohol for a test flight, and snacks, of course. There doesn't appear to be any ramp, which is unfortunate, but never mind. So we'll leave that, and with that, I'm going to we can leave the overhead cockpit for now till refueling is complete. We'll come back to that, but let's start getting some passengers on board. Let's start throwing you guys on board, and just coming back over to the chat as well. So Magic Norm, good afternoon as well. Great stuff, glad you're all with us. Let's hope we can get a safe landing and a good demonstration of this experimental version. If you haven't moved across to it already, fingers crossed, this may convince you that it is worth doing. Okay, so let's look at starting our flight. Okay, does the payload page work as well? Let me just come back to the dispatch. I don't think so, not yet. As you can see, that's in op, but obviously that will be coming pretty soon.
Cabin crew, we're ready to start boarding the aircraft now, so you can go ahead, open the doors. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so refueling is taking place, and we've had the clicks. Let's do the fire test. So engine 1 fire test, engine 2 fire test, APU fire test as well. There we go. Good evening, Danny Rubble. Good to see you. Joe Mama as well in the chat. Great stuff. Philly Roach, your daughter's just started as cabin crew for a Scandinavian airline this week. Fantastic. I dropped her to work on Monday, and she was vanished into thin air. I've not actually heard that one before. that was a great way to start the stream. I enjoyed that. Right, let's get the center panel set up. So the current QNH altimeter setting here in Halifax is 1017. Of course, that should also be 3002 if we're going to be strictly speaking. So 3002. There it is, 1017, and anti-skid is turned on as well. We're on real life time as well, which is neat. Let's just come down here and pop the payload in and check that's accurate. It'll be nice. I obviously don't need to put the fuel load in here like I have done previously. Now the refueling system is working. Just come to the options and check to see if my SimBrief username is still in here. Is that in AOC SimBrief? Username pilot ID. That must be my ID. I am going to clear that. I'm going to change that to Easyjetsimpilot. Easyjetsimpilot. Let's pop that in. Oh right, okay. So no longer does it display the ID. It just display the username. It just displays the pilot ID. Fair enough. Let's then go back to our Atsu and AOC menu. Init press. We'll know if that works in a minute when I pull this data through. Oh, there we go. Flyby Wi-Fi at 101. Current fuel on board is 7.5 tons. They're defueling. You can see that going down. That's quite neat. So back to the AOC menu. I don't need to go to the. I don't need to use the fueling page. The fueling page is going to be absolutely fine. So this is our block fuel. We're not going to touch that. We're now going to go over to the weights and balance for our passengers. 163 passengers, and the zero fuel weight of the aircraft is 26.9 by default. 26.9. There we go. That just changes where the baggage is loaded, and the payload is 16952. Check that against the OFP. Let's just zoom in a little bit. 16952. Wonderful. Dark Fury. Good evening. That's correct. And a zero fuel weight of 58 bang on. Zero fuel weight 57.95 rounded up. So absolutely, that's good. Let's continue. So we'll load that in, and now we will have a look at our gross weight. Bear in mind, this is now changing in real time as as the aircraft is defueled. So we'll keep an eye on that. We need to look at that before we do our takeoff performance page, and then we can work out what our takeoff is going to be. To Leo Johnson, good evening as well to you. Okay, so with all that in mind, let's come back and carry on our setup of the flight deck. So let's come across to the FCU now. QNH is 1017, or if we're going to use millibars, 3002, I believe that was. Flight directors 1 and 2 coming on. And our stop altitude for our departure is actually 5,000 feet, so we can save that as it is. RS alignment is in 2 minutes. Come down to the pedestal, and now I am going to check, is anybody having trouble setting their throttle detents now that this is all set up in the EFB? And it's I think it's fantastic, really good, works really well. I'm just going to double check that it is still working for me as it was a few hours ago. Oh, the passengers have arrived. I can just hear those starting to get on now. Oh, and we've got a nice little bit of music as well. Nick, good afternoon. So let me just see. So here's where I've set my thrust levers to idle. We're then going to go up to the climb detent. Spot on, up to the flex MCT. There it is, and of course toga. This is excellent. This is really nice. So I'm hoping nobody's having problems with that, because it is really nice and easy to set up now. Far easier than it was before, faffing around with editing config files, or having to obviously edit the sensitivity settings in the simulator itself. So that's nice. Time-lapse gaming. Good evening. We're actually in the aircraft tonight, so I'm glad you could come back and join us for a flight which seems to be going ahead. Yeah, we're going to perform an auto land today, whether it's required or not. I actually think it is required at the moment. Jacob, someone said earlier in the chat that he does have reverse thrust. Do you know what? I actually don't think the throttle detent I have got, thrust lever I have, has the reverse detent. I'm just going to check that actually. So if we go to calibrate and put the reverse axis on, let me just double check that. No, mine doesn't, so I'm afraid I can't actually set that and show you how that works. But make sure you do turn the reverse axis on, otherwise it will not work. Alright, Harvey, how do you get the custom autopilot? Go to the FlyByWire webpage, link in the video description, download their download the installer. From there you can download this experimental version. It is open to all. Should you download the experimental version now or wait until it's in the dev version? Well, Buster, it will never be in the dev version because the dev version will always use Microsoft and Azobo's autopilot. So I think that hopefully answers that question. Right, just coming down here, so all this looks set as it should be, and transponders turned on. We'll be ultra realistic and set the guard frequency 121.5. As I say, we're not on VATSIM today, nothing daft like that, just in case the aircraft decides to kill us. There we go. Air Trooper, you're real stuck if anyone can help you. Since the update yesterday, you start loading up the flight sim and it keeps crashing out to desktop. You've done a full install today and it's still doing it. Is antivirus and things like that turned off? Anything like that? Alienware 18, can I share the operational flight plan? Oh yeah, of course I can. Sorry guys, I normally do that automatically, don't I? It's because I don't really use it now in a separate window. I have it all on the EFB. But let me just pop that in there for you. So there we go. That's now sorted for you. If you're not seeing the experimental version in the installer, you need to re-download the installer because the installer is now brand new. So make sure you download the new installer because it's not available just there. You do need to get the new installer. HD, good evening. We're going to break some rules tonight just because we want to do some autoland, so keep that ruler, keep the ruler at arm's length for the time being. And yeah, so that's all set up and nice. I'm just going to let HD have a quick look at this METAR down here because he may not have seen that. But yeah, gusting 27 for our takeoff, so we should be alright with that. However, gusting 39 for our landing. Those are the rules that we'll be breaking. Let's carry on with our setups. So, our pedestals all set up. Let's come up to the glare shield. Glare shield, I believe, is all set up. Let's come down to the main instruments. And do you know what? I'm actually going to leave the first officer's displays on. We're meant to have had an update, aren't we, which helps with the frame rates. So let's leave that. Let's leave those on for now and see what happens. Nick, you've noticed track FBA now works without having to set the lower altitude. You can just select speed Mach, and you can select speed Mach when in cruise for descent. Ah, well, we'll check that out then. On our descent, we'll go and set 270 knots and see how that works. So, all is good there. IRS alignment is now complete. Let's check we've got 3 nav green. In fact, aircraft status, do we now have the latest air title? That came with the update as well. Really nice. And check we've got 3 nav green as well. Okay, so aircraft status, we're happy with that. Let's come on to the init A page and let's pop this in. So pull the information through from SimBrief, and that's all pulled through quite nice. Cost index of 5, flight level 370 minus 52. Let's just check those against the OFP. Minus 55, so we can go ahead and just edit that. Minus 55. I think HD were planned runway 11 to land, as it's the Cat 2, Cat 3 available. So I don't think it's not a direct crosswind. Tropo 33210, 3316. I'm going to leave that. That's close enough. Okay, Adir's position. We'd check that as well against the chance if we were doing things properly. Now the full prediction page seems to have changed a little bit, which is nice. So this is using now the new layout. If any of you have seen the explanation where I in one of the videos, I think it was yesterday it was uploaded, or it may have been today, I can't remember. But basically they've now moved over to a Honeywell system rather than it was before, which just means some of the layouts are a little bit different. So if we now pop in the 0 fuel weight of the flight, which is 57 point, no, it's not, it's 58. and the zero fuel weight centre of gravity, which I think was 26.9. 26.9. There we go. Right, so this is looking a little bit different. We don't have... Where do we enter the fuel now? Or do we enter the fuel on board ourselves? We don't get a fuel planning page. Is that right? What have we got? We've got 5.5 tons of fuel on, so that's correct. If we re-enter that, does that pop that in? That's made no difference. That's strange. Right, okay. HD, I know. Are you more familiar? Are you familiar with the Honeywell at all? Because I was expecting to be able to. Oh, there we go. What page was I on? Anyway, zero fuel weight and zero fuel weight centre of gravity is now in. Trip wind. Where's the trip wind? Trip wind is T23. What did I press before to get to that other page? Unless it was fuel prediction and planning. T23. And now let's go with the planned fuel, see what that says. Let's hope it says around 5.5. Excellent, it said 4.5 and we purposefully loaded an extra ton because of the bad weather that we've got, so that's fine. Block fuel 4.5, and as I said, we've asked it to load 5.5. HD, I don't know if you were here at the time, but the actual fuel loading is now available as well, so that's currently been pumped into the air. Actually, it's been pumped out of the aircraft. So takeoff weight is going to be 63.4. Takeoff weight is, yeah, so there we go. That's slightly different because of the extra fuel that we've taken. Taxi and the alternate, what's the alternate? Let's have a look. 1.1. Let's update that. There we go. Good stuff. Right. Takeoff weight, landing weight, all checks out, and fuel prediction is there. I must have been on the fuel prediction page instead of in it be a momentary bit of senility creeping in there. Alright, but that all looks good. Estimated fuel on board when we land, 2.8 tons. Very good. Alright, so onto our flight plan page then, as I throw my pen across the room. So we're departing today on runway 05. And I don't actually think there's any strict SIDS for this flight. If we have a look, there's just the Halifax 4 departure, which is essentially fly on almost on runway heading and maintain 5,000 feet. So we'll not bother popping the that in. So I'm just going to insert that. So yeah, out straight to our first waypoint of Ictas. That's fine. Then let's have a look at our bad weather arrival into St. John's. So we are going to be flying into St. John's and arriving on runway 11 using the Tigger 2 arrival. So it's going to be the ILS 11 using Tigger 2. Nick Burrows, thank you very much for your continued support to the channel. Really, really kind of you, Nick. Really glad that you've had a good flight today as well, Nick, one of our channel members. And it is going to be via, we've got Lodgu, Roptu or Novias. Let's have a look and see what it says. So the ILS is going to be via... Oh, how annoying. Right, so it's telling us we've either got to come in via Roptu or Lodgu. So, should we take the northern route or the southern route? Let's have a quick look, shall we? If we scroll out, it's not going to make any difference. I'll tell you what, we'll take the southern waypoint. So, Lodgu. which is the one that's already been pre-chosen for us anyway. Let's insert that. There we go. So 483 miles, let's check that against the OFP. 486 miles, that's pretty bob on. So very, very happy with that. Okay, RadNav page, we can leave blank for this flight, don't need it. Init B is all sorted now. And our takeoff performance page then. So transition altitude here up in Canada, 18,000 feet. Oh, not 180,000 feet, we're not a space rocket. I believe it is actually noise abatement 2, so happy to leave that. Flaps 1 for the departure. And let's have a look now at calculating our performance. HD, in the real world, of course, I would use no vires. Here in the Microsoft Flight Simulator world, no vires is not an option. Even though it says there's an option there on the McDo, it will then just switch to the default, so we may as well confirm which one we want to use. It's another one of those simisms that we have to live with. Right, so our takeoff weight then, let's just go back to back here onto the init B page. Our takeoff weight is 63.4. Let's have a look at checking that against our performance. So there's the latest METAR, 63,400. There we go. We're going to use the full length of the runway for our departure. In fact, do we need to use the full length? Let's double check. So, could we get away with... I think taxiway Charlie may be pushing it. Should we try taxiway Bravo? Oh, do you know what? Let's see if it'll let us do taxiway Charlie. Oh, in fact, it only gives us the option to use the full range there. Do we have takeoff data? Oh, we've got takeoff... let's take off departure procedure again, runway visual ranges, etc, etc. Let's have a look up here. Takeoff run available from runway 23. Takeoff width threshold. In that case, do you know what? It's not the longest runway in the world anyway, is it? Let's just use full and calculate. So flex temp of 67. So let's go ahead and pop that in. Back to the performance page, takeoff 67, there we go. So V2, 135, VR 131, and V1 is 130. I believe all the passengers are now on board. Looks like we can close those doors. And our takeoff performance page is complete. Pop a little bit of liking.
Passengers are on board and doors have been closed. The drink cart is fully loaded and all liability forms have been signed. We're about ready to go. Good luck with the test flight and please get us back in one piece.
That's great, thank you.
Okay, so with regards to our departure briefing, we're just going to take off, fly runway heading, go to 5,000 feet, the stop climb altitude, and then continue on our way. Weather here is absolutely fine, although it is very gusty. We need to remember that. Let's just check the latest gusts, which are now found on the dashboard, so we know what's going to be happening. So we're departing on, which runway is it? It's runway 5, and the wind is 360, so we're going to be blown from the left, pushing us over to the right on departure. Really, does antivirus crash the simulator? Because yours is crashing all the time. I have heard that it can do, just because it obviously is, I think you've got to sort of exclude it from any antivirus software that you do have. That's certainly what I have done. So, JJ, 37 minutes to start the stream. You're right, you'll be back in 45 when we're airborne. Well, we're not in the CRJ, but you know what? This channel's all about doing things correctly and properly. If you want to play the game, then you're welcome to watch elsewhere. So, that's all sorted with no air traffic control departure clearance, anything like that, just because we're doing a test flight, we're not on VATSIM. And as long as I know what we're doing and where we're going, we're taxiing down there, full length of the runway, and hopefully we don't get blown off the runway during the departure. J-Hog, good evening, good to see you. I saw a video of your belly landing in the Atlantic Ocean the other day. Hats off to you. Hope everyone survived. HD. From the left, pulling your nose left. Fair enough. Pulling me nose left. Right. We're all good to go. Doors are closed. Got the pushback clearance. We know where we're going. Let's get the rotating beacon light on. And we'll call our tug driver. Do we have a tug driver today? It appears not. Can I conjure one up now using the ground page on here? Let's have a look. Call the tug. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, well, we've got the Phantom Tug guy. The ground crew can push the aircraft back. Refueling is complete, so now we'll get the fuel pumps on. And I don't mind admitting, HD, I nearly forgot. You said it had happened. Seatbelt signs are now on. Let's get ready to push back and light the engines.
Cabin crew, we're about ready to push back, so if you can please down the door and cross-check. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, and on behalf of the Fly-by-Wire development team, I'd like to welcome you on board this Fly-by-Wire test flight in the Airbus A320NX. Today, we're going to be testing out some new systems, so I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. A reminder that this version of the Airbus is not yet available for download. All of the new systems will shortly be merged into the developer build and the upcoming experimental version. For now, please listen to your cabin crew, get yourselves seated with your seatbelts securely fastened, and as the ground crew finish loading the last of your luggage into the aircraft, we look forward to a safe, smooth departure, and we hope you enjoy your flight. Once again, on behalf of the Fly-by-Wire team, thank you very much for choosing to fly with us today, and we look forward to delivering you a safe and pleasant journey.
Of course, the one bit to ignore from that pre-recorded cabin announcement is that this version is available for you all to go and download.
As we prepare for departure, we ask that you pay close attention to the following important information about this airplane. Your seatbelt should be fastened whenever the fasten seatbelt sign is illuminated. To fasten your seatbelt, insert the metal tip into the buckle until you hear a click. To change the length of the belt, adjust the strap. To open the buckle, lift the metal flap. All emergency exits are clearly marked. Take a moment now to locate the exit nearest you. Emergency exit lights are located near the floor in each aisle to assist you to an exit. As you can see, this aircraft has 6 exit doors. 3 doors are located on the left side and 3 doors on the right side. Each door is equipped with an automatic slide. In an emergency, flight
Okay, so engines are now started, anti-ice is on, APU is coming off, taxi light will go on in a moment, pushback tug can clear, but let's run the we're not sticking with checklists completely, but after start checklist, anti-ice, ECAM, and let's set the pitch, trim, just check rudder is 0, and what's the CFG is 27.1. 27.1, we're in the green band, that should do, and happy with all of that. So pushback tug is now clear, we can disconnect things. Let's get that tug on his way, even though he's not actually there, he's already disappeared. I think it was that groundsman over there that pushed things. Spoilers armed, flaps 1 is set. Right, we're going to make a turn, get down there. Pushback is clear, we've got the tax clearance, we know where we're going. Now we'll turn the taxi light on and release those parking brakes. Just before we do, let's do a flight control check. Full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral, rudder, full right, rudder, full left, and neutral. Always looking good there. So let's start to roll. I did see in the chat just whilst this was starting up, goodness me, that took off like a rocket, that someone was trying to do an RNAV in this version. Yeah, computer says no, RNAV not yet implemented in the experimental build, so if you have got the experimental build, please only fly visual or visual, VOR or ILS approaches. RNAV approach is not yet working. Of course, track FPA mode is working, so that should help. HD, I've not been reading the chat. What are you talking about? I don't like it when the computer tells us that it doesn't know where there's a mountain. So we'll taxi all the way down here. Whilst we're taxiing nice straight, let's get the weather radars on and auto brake to max. We'll ding the cabin crew, check the TO config. So we've done our flight controls check. Departure briefing is, as I say, straightforward. We're going to climb out on runway heading and then up to 5,000 feet. That's our stop climb altitude, confirmed in the FCU. And our FMA takeoff details are 13, that looks smaller than it used to be, 130 blue, 135 magenta, climb nav blue, 5,000 feet, 1 FD2, and a flex tempo takeoff of 67. HD, if you've got an RMP approach that has been designed to avoid terrain, the FLS system will ignore this and make the aircraft follow the pseudo centerline and glide slope and just happily fly you into a hill. What genius came up with that invention? Captain B, is this your fault? As I say, I was out of the chat while I was just setting things up and double checking my charts for this departure. I don't know what you've started, but it sounds like fun and dangerous. I think I'd only want to try it in a simulator and not in the real world, from the way HD goes on. Flight Sim 2020, hi, do you need to do something in the McDo that the auto throttle automatically turns on during takeoff? No. No, it should automatically come on. Having said that, this is an experimental build, so there are bugs to be expected. I guess we'll find out in a moment. Vinicius Pulino, if I use the checklist, it would be more realistic. Well, this is true, but I don't use the checklist provided by FlyByWire. I actually use the real-world checklist that I've got in front of me. And I don't do that completely on these test flights, but if you do want to see that sort of realism, stick with the channel and you'll know then that from all our normal EasyJet flights that we do here in the flight deck, that we do everything 100% realistically, which is why we'll spend a good hour on the ground. Magic normal speed heading out, no longer in managed mode at the start. This is true. That's probably not how they were when the last pilot landed the aircraft. So again, just adding to realism. Which is also why on the checklist it does say that you need to check it set to nav mode. This sort of looks like one of those unauthorized taxiways, doesn't it? As the lines disappeared. Right, okay. So we'll get around the corner and then we'll take off. Let's see how the new experimental build handles the takeoff, shall we? It still has the custom fly-by-wire, which we've been flying on this channel now for a while, so I'm not expecting too many differences. Okay, let's hold it there. Everything's looking good by this point. Ecam page, brake temperatures all fine, approach path, there's nobody else here, so that's great as well. Let's get our self-loading cargo crew sat down. And then we've got the lights on, strobes, runway turn off, landing, and the nose lights. Turn the packs off, and let's roll out. We'll get TCAS on as well, not that it works yet. TCAS, TARA and tilt above. We'll get lined up, we'll hit the chrono and be on our way. It's a nice wide runway this, isn't it? No problems turning around and backtracking on here if we had to. Alright gang, let's see what this new bird can do. So, take off, start the chrono, 50% and 1. And set takeoff thrust. Manual thrust SRS. Runway has not been displayed.
100 knots.
So different FMA is now. That's V1 and rotate. There's that wind that we were expecting on departure.
Positive red line, 0.
SRS and nav is now displaying. We'll pop that on heading track. So heading, climb thrust should start flashing in a moment. There we go. So let's lower that nose, set climb thrust. There we go, thrust lever and open climb. Let's get those packs back on. We're about to pass S speed, so we shall clean the aircraft up. Flap 0. Ground spoilers disarmed. We're now above the minimum safe altitude, so I'm happy to turn direct our first waypoint. Still got this lever climb thing flashing here, which I presume is a bug with the new version because it targets the speed really quite nicely. Okay, no air traffic control online. We're going to start climbing towards our cruise altitude today. Let's set flight level 250. Flight level 250, set standard pressure and check. We've got flight level 250 blue. And you may also have noticed as well, I don't know HD if you picked up on that, despite the different FMA announcement on takeoff, that the actual PFD display looks slightly different now. So let's hit Autopilot 1 and see what happens. Autopilot 1 engaged without a massive jolt. That's the first time I've seen that, so there's already a really big plus. So we've got lever climb flashing, and interestingly enough, where's the aircraft taking me? Should be taking me to the first waypoint of IGTAS. So we'll keep an eye on that. It doesn't appear to be tracking IGTAS at all. We're in the climb detent. Still doesn't want to appear to be taking us to IGTAS, does it? Flight level 100. Let's get the lights off. Oh, we're still in heavy mode. That'll be why. Okay, I'll let you even on a test flight HD. You get that ruler out for that one. Okay, let's release the cabin crew. Yeah, that was a brain fart moment, wasn't it? Never mind. Open climb seems to be working quite nicely. I wish we could do something about the lever climb alert. Climb detent is there. Very strange. HD, you seeing anything regarding the thrust levers and the climb detent? Yeah, HD, that's a good point. When I thought I had got a problem, I decided to re-engage the direct function, which, as you say, should put it back in nav mode automatically, but obviously it didn't. Philly Roach, move them in and out of the climb detent again. We can try, see what happens. No, still appears to be making absolutely no difference. We're still in thrust, we've still got the thrust lever. Is that new HD? Didn't say thrust lever, did it? It used to be thrust climb. Can I jiggle the thrust levers a bit? I can wiggle, I can jiggle them, I can shake them around. It's doing very little. Nick, you've moved them forward a bit and back again. Well, let's see. No. Can we move them actually with the mouse? Oh, we've got asymmetrical thrust there. I don't want that. No, so even using the sim settings, it's still not doing it. I don't think disengaging auto throttle. Well, we'll try it. Disengage auto throttle, put it back in. No, we still come up with the flashing FMA. Let's just set our flight level now to cruise flight level 370. Flight level 370 blue. Climb. And let's go MCT. And back to climb detent. No, I seem to be stuck with it for the flight duration. Has anybody else had this same issue? I'm presuming it's not just me. However, I think one of the things I'm going to have to take away from this is we may just have to live with it. The aircraft is still doing exactly as it should. It'll be interesting to see what happens when we get up to cruising altitude, and we should hopefully go speed or Mach by the time we get there. Fuzzle, in the calibration, try a difference number between the two. Top number and bottom number. Could do, actually. Check FMAs when we go to MCT. It shows us... actually shows manual thrust. That's not right, is it? At least the N1 climb thrust is good. If we move that back to thrust level, thrust lever even, N1 climb thrust is looking alright. Let's have a look. I don't like to play around too much with this whilst we're in the air. David says shut engine 2 down. No, we've already done that. I don't like doing that. That was on a different stream. Settings, isn't it? Calibrate. So this is the climb detent. Let's have a look. So if I just want to set the climb detent, let's set that up a bit to there. Let's lower that to there and apply. Save that. And just try moving those level levers again. So man thrust and thrust lever. Even with a wider range, we've still got a flashing lever climb. We may just have to live with that. As I say, let's see what happens when we get to our cruising altitude. Dark weather the wrong way around? I can try it. And apply. So let's move those levers again. Ah, dark, you little genius. Right, okay, well in that case I may have been setting this up the wrong way, as I've been selecting the start box, as you can see here, as being from the top down. That will be why. That will be why. Well done, Dark. Thank you, my friend. Right, so in other words, you want to start calibrating not from the bottom, but from the top. Sorry, not from the top, from the bottom. So the start is going up. The end is going up even further. Mystery solved. Thank you, Dark. that's just a bit of a communication error. They could be interpreted in, well, clearly in the way that I interpreted them, wouldn't it? So yeah, as HD's just confirmed there, it's the start of the gate and the end of the gate. But again, that's from the bottom up, isn't it? Which actually means that all of these I've got the wrong way around. I'll reset those on the ground though. I'm not going to be faffing around with those mid-flight. Right, where's that alcohol trolley? Because God knows, I think I could do with some after that. Captain B, shutting down engine 2 would still have resolved the issue. Well, at that point we should need to go to MCT, so maybe. Maybe. What's the air temperature? We can get the get the de-ice off now. Big shout out to Dark, who has just solved all our problems there. Thank you very much. Jedi Toga should be 1 and 1 then. Well, I suppose realistically it could be, but I'd go with 1 and 0.999, whatever you can pop in. And OKTM, you've basically just done it, you've read that exactly the same way I did. Shouldn't the start be the lower number? So, as it is now, that is correct. That's it's not the way I did it. But hey ho, lesson learnt. We're done. Is idle set properly HD? I think idle regardless of what happens. We were on idle on the ground, yeah, so we'll get idle set. In fact, you know what, we can probably manually go in and edit that. So if we go to idle and have a look, we've got 0.96 and -1. So if we go in here and alter that to -1 and -0.96, we'll do it manually like this. So -1 and -0.96, and we'll apply that. That's now set correctly, because obviously idle is going to be quite important performing an auto land. Should turn the seatbelt signs off.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has now turned off the seatbelt sign and you are now free to move around the cabin. We do recommend, however, when in your seat, that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times in case of unexpected turbulence. The toilets are now available. Please contact a member of the cabin crew if you require assistance. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to commence serving our alcoholic drink service throughout the cabin. Please make sure your tray tables are in the downward position and clear any bags or items from the aisles. As this is a test flight, all alcoholic beverages are being served free of charge as a thank you for putting your lives in our hands today. Please note that the alcoholic drinks service is not available to under 18s. Soft drinks will instead be offered. Thank you.
Start having a look at our approach in a moment. Work out what we're doing for that. Captain B just spotted something else. What does VDEV mean in the green on the navigation display? Oh, that's not VNav's not working yet, is it? It's basically your. Isn't it the furthest track away? I've not got it showing yet. It'd be easy to. It's your deviation or your maximum deviation from your planned route, I think. Depending on how accurate your GPS system's working. I've not seen that in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 before. So VDEV is normally shown on the navigation display. From what I remember, HD is going to have to confirm this, but it's showing you a maximum deviation from the track that you are flying, the navigation track you're flying, depending on the accuracy of your GPS, which can be found here. So that's the estimated and accuracy shown there. So if you are deviating, it will show you what the maximum deviation is. So we're now passing flight level 330. Not long to go until we're at the cruising altitude, and we'll have a quick look at how we're going to come in. It should be pretty straightforward though from what I can see. Let's have a look. And as I say, we are going to do an auto land just to see what that's all about. So we're going to come in via Lodgu, the initial approach fix, and then 3,000 feet, I believe it is, 3,000 feet at Gibby, 11 miles out. However, we do need to be a little bit careful. In the RadNav page, we're going to make sure that the ILS is pumped in, 109.1, but also, so we get a DME readout, because this is just an ILS beam, we also need to separately type in to the VOR 110.3 to get the DME. So we've got our distances. So let's go ahead and do that now, shall we, while we're cruising quite nicely. If we go to our RadNav page, that's already auto-populated, so that's nice to see. 109.1, that's in. And let's pop that VOR frequency in there, which is 110.3. 110.3. I could have, of course, typed in the identifier, which was ISO, but that's there. Lovely. Oh, HD. I think I've just pipped you to the post on that. DME distance isn't calculated to the threshold. It's actually at the far end of the runway. If I just bring that map back into view again for you all. So there you can see. There's the threshold, but the actual distance measuring equipment. So as you can see here, when you're at Gibby, you're 11.3 miles from ISO. That doesn't mean you're at 11.3 miles from the threshold of the runway. In fact, it tells you the threshold of the runway is actually 1.3 miles, as it's shown on there. So guys, whilst we're sat happily in the cruise and alcoholic beverages are coming around and being served, if you could do me a lovely favour of just hitting the like button on the stream, it really does help with our YouTube rankings. So if you would be so kind as to do that, that would be really, really appreciated. Thank you. Oh, HD, I think I got in there again. Look at that, 1.3 miles. Sorted. What's happening in St. John's then? Wind is... all those winds have dropped. It's now 040 at 22 knots. Still going to be a nice crosswind. And can we have a look? So... this is where, brushing up on the meta, my brain hurts. Runway 11, which is the runway we're landing on, is at 5,000, that's not going to be 5,000, 6,000 feet, touchdown zone. Because visibility is 3/4 of a mile. Runway heading is 105. As shown both on the map chart and the profile. But yeah, just coming back to this, so is that 5,000? That can't be 5,000 meters. What's that in? That is feet, isn't it? Of course, 5,000 feet, 6,000 feet to the touchdown zone, and then we've got the other runways. Runway 16. So runway 16 has got less visibility shown. Light snow and overcast at 300 feet. -3 as well. HD, here's a question. Because it's -3, you could potentially add 20 degrees to the... Well, it would normally be the minimum descent height, wouldn't it? But if you're doing a ILS full auto land, would you still bother adding the 20 feet because of the low temperatures? HD, let's see. So the crosswind maximum for auto lands is 20 knots, and what's ours going to be? It's going to be, do you know what it might be? It's the gusts that's the problem, because it's at 22 knots, so potentially it probably could be. We'll wing it. Hit a test flight. HD, because that's based off radio altimeter, it doesn't need correcting. Of course, fair enough. Yeah, it's the barometric pressure that goes to pot, doesn't it, with the cold temperature. So at Lodgoo we want to be at 3,000 feet. Let's just have a look at the navigation display and see how that's going. And see if it looks like what we'd expect it to with this arrival. So I'm expecting it to look something like... where is it? So something like coming in from Tigger to Lodgoo and then up to this waypoint here and coming across. And today we keep the rulers, we don't use the rulers on test flights just in case things go wrong. And even if we landed out of the limits of the autopilot, that'd be quite interesting. We're playing the simulator card. Let's have a look. Let's just scroll through here. So there, oh, there we go. That was right. So let me just zoom out. There we go. So Tigger is there. There's Lodgoo and up to Gibby to start that approach. HD says, even worse, it's blowing snow. So we do have a contaminated runway. What's the maximum crosswind for that? And the braking action, yes, this is real world weather, which is why I actually picked this airport, just to put this aircraft through its paces. Contaminated runway, maximum crosswind for that. Don't know, I need to see the RCAM. We also need to make sure we're down at 3,000 feet by Lodgoo. There we go. Either way, we may be outside the actual limits. Thankfully we're in a simulator. HD, what have I told you before about saying that phrase? I'm not bothered about the language, it's the phrase that concerns me. Michael, what was your question? What software do I use for the maps, standard instrument departures and all the valuable information? So this, if you're referring to this window here, this is from Navigraph, which I'm sure you may have heard of, Navigraph charts. It's a subscription service. So, but do go and check that out. Very, very useful. And if you are new to the channel, of course, normally we do things all 100% accurately and real. So in the real world, I probably would not be flying this flight to this airport because it's outside of limits. But just for the simulator test flight, why not? So far, I'm very, very happy with the fact that the aircraft is working really nice. This could convince me, even though it's an experimental version. even though it's an experimental version, I think I may be, I could be considered and could be convinced to use this on VATSIM. Should we use this for a long haul mileage Monday? Obviously on Monday, that could be interesting. HD, we're probably outside the contamination crosswind limits, let alone the auto land limits. Yeah, you're probably right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve a selection of food and snacks from the galley. Please ensure your tray tables are in the down position and that the aisles are kept clear. Due to the nature of this test flight, sick bags have also been provided for you in the pockets of the seats in front of you. Here, you'll also find a snack menu showing the food items that are on offer. Please keep any litter you may have and our cabin crew will be around shortly afterwards to collect it. Thank you.
So a reminder again for anyone that does have this experimental version that the RNAV approach is not an option, so we can't make an RNAV approach. Well, not with the normal, not with the approach mode. You'd have to do a track FPA. HD, I don't think the alternative was any better, to be completely honest with you. And as we've done a test flight, we've only got the one of them. Don't know what we're worried about anyway. The weather looks absolutely beautiful out here. Air Trooper, you're just moving stuff around in your community folder. Does anyone know if you need to re-download the FlyByWire A320 because there's been a lot of changes to it? What I would do, Air Trooper, is I would delete the A320 folder or the FlyByWire folder that you've got in your community folder. Get the new installer, not the old one, and just re-download the version that you wish. It's definitely test pilot territory. I believe both Navigraph and ChartFox are going to be integrated into this, into the flypad. I'm almost sure I saw that. Rui Martin says I should be using a direct approach. That approach is for the opposite landing runway, is it not? Yes and no, to be fair. Let me just bring this in again. Okay, so the way that Microsoft Flight Simulator works, or doesn't in this case, is it will take us from Tigor, and then what we'd like to do is go direct to Gibby. That will give you a straight in. But you can only do that if you select no VIAs or no initial approach fix. As if I come in here and show you. So we'd want to go to Gibby. Unfortunately, Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't like you selecting no VIAs, so it will automatically assign you either Logdo or Ruptu. It won't let you go straight to Gibby. What we could do, of course, is go into the FMGC, and on the flight plan we could just tell it to go direct to Gibby. So that is also an option as well. Dickens FS, great to see you, mate. Yeah, back from yesterday. And you're quite right, that was a mess. I left it, went to bed, and it had finished updating by the time I got up this morning. Christopher, that's a good point, we've seen that as well. The installer does still have a little memory leak, so as soon as you finish downloading the version, close the installer down. Is that a full moon as well we've got out there tonight? Looks decent. Taylor, you've just given the real world weather for St. John's. Oh, why did you have to go and do that? 040 at 33 knots. Runway visibility on runway 11, which is where we're landing, is 5,000 to 6,000 feet. That's at the touchdown zone. Blowing snow, overcast at 300 feet, -3. Hey, do you know what? for the first time, I bet when we land, self-loading cargo might get the temperature incorrect the opposite way. It's going to tell you it's all a lot warmer than it actually is. Fazil, can I focus on the next turning above the next waypoint to tell if everything is normal? Basically going left, then right instead of directly right. We can have a look. Let's see, when is the next waypoint? Let's just jump inside. So we're 30 miles away from the next waypoint. We'll see if it goes directly to the right. However, this is a known issue again on this experimental build. Sometimes, because it is the custom autopilot, it is still being worked on, that sometimes it does do little things like that. So let's see in a moment. 10 miles to go. We shall find out. Hope you've all had a good weekend so far anyway, guys. And remember, for those of us in the UK, and this is really rather depressing, the clocks go forward tonight. So, as of tomorrow, we are on Zulu time +1, and we all lose an hour of sleep. Just what you want when you've got 4 kids who don't understand that concept. HD, is that serious? There's a Dash 8 there trying to land in real life at the moment, so I should be fine. The visibility, actually, what was it? 600 to between 5,000 and 6,000 feet. That's alright, isn't it? We'll see the runway lights. Alright, so here we go. It's going left now. Will it go right in a minute to go back towards Tigo? Yeah, there we go. See, it just went left. And now it's going right again. So, yeah, that's something we'll just have to deal with for the time being. Dark, isn't UTC and Zulu the exact same thing? Anyway, isn't it actually UCT, Universal Coordinated Time? If we're going to get really nitpicky. Christopher, you've been working nights, what's sleep? Fair point. Abanand, the game name is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Captain B, I double check that. I'm pretty certain Zulu time is the same as UCT. What is the aircraft doing? Because I can hear my passengers screaming away. Oh no, it's all right. It's okay. That's fine. Judges, so you forgot the clocks go forward tonight? Yeah, sorry. I know I've just brought everyone down. Oh, I apologise. It is UTC, Universal Time Coordinated. Well, that's backwards. Surely Universal Coordinated Time actually makes sense. Yeah, so you can see now how the aircraft, in order to track that line, has been going left, right, left, right, left, right. Matness 88, hello. Does the fuel page work? I don't know. Let's find out. Oh, sorry, you meant on the ECAM. Fuel. Yeah, that looks to be working. That all looks good. Right. We'll just have a look at this descent. I've got a 55 knot tailwind, so that's going to blow us through, isn't it? Let's see. So we want to be at 3,000 feet. What are we at? We're at 37. So if we start that descent at probably about 110, 115 miles away. We should be down nice and early. Oh, HD, that explains it. Dark, have I tried the printer? No, I haven't, but as we're going to be starting our descent pretty soon, let's go for it. So, Hatsu, AOC, weather requests, and send. Let's get that sent. Wait for that to come through. Not looking forward to this meta. It's actually now flying straight and level, so happy with that. The custom autopilot does not yet have VNAV. There's the company message. I see, so it's just the fuel used you're saying is not working. No, that's fair enough. But of course you can work out the fuel that has been burnt, and really I'm just considered with the fuel that is actually left on board. Let's close that down. Right, so received messages, meta, let's get that printed. Oh my god, we're going to run out of paper with this lot. Print, does this still work? Oh yes, there it comes. And let's go. Juicy, has the progress page been implemented into this version? As in this page? Oh, actually, can we pop in? Will this work? Oh no. No. I thought I might be able to pop those in. I can't wait for that to come. That is going to be so useful when that works. Right, onto the performance page for our ILS approach. Runway 11. You can see we can either use the barrow or the radio. Obviously we're going to do a full, complete auto land today. That's pressure off me, right? HD, that dash still hasn't landed. How many times has he gone round? 2973. And temperature is, was it minus something? -3. Wind is 040 at 22. Fair play to those dash pilots for attempting it. 18,000 feet. So what I'm going to pop in the radio then is I'm just going to say no. No decision height. We're going down. No decision height. And that's keyed in. How far are we away now? Coming up to about 160 miles. Mad Machines, you were getting the star left bank loss. Oh, that's not encouraging. 3 green, good to see you, hello. One of the things you need to remember as well, guys, is if you are typing stuff into the flypad, right alt, bring it out, and instead of typing it directly into the flypad, type it into your little window there, because as you're tapping away on your keyboard, there probably is a key binding in the simulator which will dive you over left or right. Can anyone contact the pilots of that Dash 8 and ask for a pilot report?
Ladies and gentlemen, flight deck once again. We're delighted to know that we've almost finished completing all of our checks and tests over here, and we'll shortly be starting our descent into our destination. At which point, cabin crew will start to prepare for our arrival. So if you could please make sure the eyes are clear and assist the cabin crew as they start making their way around the aircraft, it would be most appreciated. Thank you, and we'll have an update for you shortly.
Yeah, HD, I think we'll go with medium. It's not even a long runway, is it? Let's have a look. What have we got? Runway 11, 2,500 meters. And if we go to what's our actual landing runway availability, where are we going to find that? Oh look, we've got some pretty pictures. This is what we would be able to see if we were actually able to see anything. Anyway, let's just go back. Runway 11, high intensity runway lights, thank goodness, 3-degree angle, and it is, oh wow, okay, 2,266, so it is quite a short runway. Yeah, we'll probably pop the auto brakes on for this landing. Buster max brakes not available in the air, only available on departure, so it would be medium. We've got no decision height confirmed there on the FMA. It's quite nice. So we've got the weather and the landing information. FMGC is all programmed in. Landing elevation is 461 feet. Let's turn that auto brake on now, shall we? So auto brake to medium. Our arrival briefing, we'll just quickly go through that again. We'll descend via the Tiga 2 star, which will bring us in to Lodgu. What we'll probably do is, to be fair, what we can do is we can vector ourselves in, so we're not making sort of like a complete right angle approach. We can just come in and intercept the ILS at a nice gradual angle. That'll be better. Once we've landed, God willing, then we shall be taxiing via, looks like we'll probably either be taxiing via the runway or going right to the end, and I don't even think we'd be able to turn around a taxi down this little taxiway there. How wide's that taxiway? Or runway? What was it, runway 2? 20? Runway width is, it's 30 metres wide. We can get down that. HD, oh fair enough, that's not applicable on the glide slopes, so in that case we use the aerodrome chart, in which case it's 2,500 metres, well, 2,591. Okay, so once we see those get to about 120 miles, because we've still got quite a strong tailwind, we'll pull the heading bug, we'll pull the altitude and start to descend. HD, have you been reading NOTAMs? Runway 220 is closed. Well, looks like we're backtracking then, if we make it down. You know I don't read the NOTAMs for flights like this. Save that for the real... save that for our real ops flights. Buster asks, did the Dash 8 land or divert? It's a good question. Yap, good evening. So does anybody have any last requests? Get them in now. Do you know what? This is going to be a sunset landing, isn't it? But it's going to look great from the outside. Of course, we'll not be able to see the sun. I think, Paul, that's a rhetorical question. Okay, let's start our way down. We're going to set 3,000 feet straight off. Get all the way down there. And double check that QNH is 1007. So 3,000 feet, blue confirmed, open descent. I'm not going to go open descent, we'll end up getting down far too quickly. 1,800 feet, VS and MAC. Yep, no mayhem, not yet. The mayhem's about to begin. So down we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, on this test flight for Fly-by-Wire, we are pleased to be able to offer you exclusive tax-free savings on all your purchases today. You may wish to consider upgrading your service to becoming a channel member and benefit from the extra perks that are available. Please contact a member of the cabin crew for more details. Please remember that this version of the Airbus A320neo is not yet available for downloading. Thank you.
Ignore the cabin crew, of course. This version of the A320neo is now available for downloading. Fly-by-Wire's latest installer. Make sure you head to the Fly-by-Wire page, download their new installer and enjoy the custom autopilot build called the experimental version. Realistically, HD, this place, we can only do a Cat 2. Not Cat 2, Cat 3 Alpha. Cat 3B, which is actually what we've put in, as no decision height, isn't allowed. We could actually change it, couldn't we? Let's change it. Let's go, let's put it in for 50. Let's at least do something a little bit realistic. For this flight. So if we go back to our performance page, next phase, and pop in 50. There we go. Decision height of 50 is now in there now. Yeah, question, do you use auto brake and reverse after an auto landing? That all depends on the length of the runway and of course what the contamination on the runway is. Oh, actually, can I now pull this and set this to speed, did you say? Oh, look at that. Completely forgot about that. Wonderful. I'm going to roll that back to about 260 knots. Paul, will auto land be available in the development version soon? I don't know, and I don't think it will be. The only reason I say that is because the development version has all new features and things like that, but it always uses Microsoft and Azobo's autopilot coding, which can't do auto land, and until Microsoft and Azobo code that in, it never will. So the only way to do it is to have the Fly-by-Wire team's own autopilot. So that will always be the experimental build. If you see what I'm saying, hope that makes sense. Yeah, HD, no problem. But it is interesting to note that we've got not authorized, not authorized. So Cat 3A, your decision height is lower than 100, but no lower than 50 feet. Cat 3B is lower than 50 feet, or 50 feet and lower. Cat 3C, which isn't authorised, is no decision height. So we were actually going one better. We were going for a Cat 3C on this arrival, which is absolutely not authorised. Kingfisher, how did I get the custom coffee cup? Someone very kindly made it for me. Nick, was that you? I forget if it was you that made this one. Has this got the ruler on it as well? Yeah, we've got the HD ruler, shining happy. The aircraft's actually also doing a grand job at holding the airspeed as well. That's quite nice. Paul, the FPS wasn't the greatest in the experimental when landing at where's that? That's somewhere in Australia, isn't it? Is that Sydney? Sydney is a custom handcrafted airport as well, isn't it? There's quite a lot of detail there. Jedi thought you just put 0 on the radio and it rather than no, and it seemed to work. It's the exact same thing, 0 or no. I think they both work. I will be doing a tutorial in the future about what you should be putting in, when you should be putting in it, and the different minimums, but I need to get my head around the best way to describe some of that. Ferre, this is the experimental version. Ooh, a little bit of turbulence. See that bouncing around? Bet this is looking really nice again from outside though, isn't it? So, have we got bad weather in front of us that we can see? It doesn't look too bad just from this point of view, does it? Loving the long tail, long shadows from the tail just there. Yeah, so what are the limits in the meta used to determine Cat A, B or C? That's to do with the runway visual range, which you would normally get in the metas. Martin, have I activated the approach mode yet? No, not yet. Do you mean approach mode or do you mean approach phase? Two different things. Martin, the phase. No, not activated approach phase. That would self-activate automatically, actually, if we pass the decel point. We could do it sooner if we wished. David, has the Sims performance improved? I'll be honest with you, I've not flown in it enough to be able to tell, but from what I've read, a lot of people are telling me that it has. So guys, if you could be so kind as to do me a favour and hit that like button for the stream, that would be wonderful. Please do it now before we crash. Mad Machines, you had an autopilot land last night, then you couldn't steer off the runway after landing in the experimental version. Did you turn the autopilot off? You need to turn the autopilot off because the autopilot will track that runway centre line and not let you move. So HT, that'll be quite interesting on this approach. We've got 50 in the decision height, the radio height, so it should say 100 above, not 100. Delta 2741, good evening. Mad Machine's autopilot was off, so that's interesting. Alienware, the autopilot is going to be turned on by pushing autopilot 2 button right. Actually no, you can do an auto land with just autopilot 1, but then we're getting into sort of fail passive and fail operational, which is another tutorial entirely. Basically, if you've only got one autopilot turned on for the auto land, the minimums of doing that are much higher. And again, as I say, to reiterate, I will do a full auto landing video explanation tutorial, so stay tuned to that. But it's just thinking about the best way to do it, because it could be quite boring. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a lot of information to get into that. and I've just got to come up with a way with making it visually pleasing as well as educational in the way that it provides all the information. So we're now about to pass the transition altitude. It's clearly getting dark, so I'm just going to turn the brightness down of those screens. Can we see the sunset out from the passenger view? Wow, that looks nice. So Christian, you tried the Autoland a few minutes ago and it didn't work for you. There was no flare and the plane smashed into the runway. Looking forward to our Autoland. Have you downloaded the experimental version of the fly-by-wire aircraft on their new installer? You have to have done that. That's the only version that can perform Autolands. So we're now 40 miles away. Why have we gone into heading mode? That's strange. That's very strange. I don't recall doing that. If anyone can rewind and see when the FMA changed the heading, because that didn't flash up for me. Let's just start slowing down and getting down a little bit quicker, shall we? So let's put some bit of speed brake out. Roll our speed back to 240 knots. OM on the primary flight display. I haven't actually seen that. Is that now? Is that coded in as when on fire? That's the outer marker. It's usually about, is it about 3 or 4 miles out? Might even be 5 miles out. They're not really used anymore. They're an old-fashioned method of navigating for when the weather was bad and ILS wasn't a thing. Delta 2741, yeah, that's right. You've got both autopilots. Basically, if one fails, you've got a backup. So that's why you put them both on. Yeah, Christian, that sounds about right. If you get Autopilot 1 and 2 both turned on, then you've got the version that you need installed. So I'm quite happy to just remain in heading mode for now. I would be interested to know when that changed. I certainly don't recall doing it. We're still roughly headed towards where I want to be, but I am aware that there's a wind blowing me from the left. Your exhaust gas temperatures are in red when the engines are off. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Worldwide Pilot, good evening. Does fly-by-wire update automatically? No, it does not. No, it does not. So we're coming up to 10,000 feet. Lights on. Minimums are set. Engine mode selector is normal. Electronic flight bag is stowed. And we can also get those lights on. Depending on how bad the weather is, we'll turn the lights off so we can see what we're doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned on the fasten seatbelt sign. If you could please return to your seats and ensure that your seatbelt is securely fastened. If you are traveling with an infant, please ensure that they are secured safely using the infant seatbelt harness provided. Please contact a member of the cabin crew if you require assistance. Thank you.
Alienware, you may have got that weather to T, but do you actually turn on the weather radar down here? You need to flick this little switch there. Also, if you have got the terrain on your radar then it can only display either the weather or the terrain. It cannot display both. So that may be why. Okay, so let's enter the approach phase. Confirm that. So it now wants to slow down to green dot speed. We can also help it by just reducing our rate of descent a little bit. Okay, into manage mode. Down we go speed wise. So I'm presuming this is the overcast layer that we'll be about to fly in. Let's get the anti-ice on. Already checked HD. I didn't do it at the same time as engaging manage speed. The approach phase though, did I? That's probably why you typed it in. But I did flag that up. J-Hug, have you just discovered that then? Thank you. It changed the heading just after I looked out of the window at the wing. So we did that. Oh, I did that. That's interesting. Let's just do a quick... So if I go into nav... Oh, that's very interesting. Why have I got nav blue? Oh, HD, I think I also mentioned the landing lights not being on once we get down. Did I manage to beat you to that one as well? Question for you though, HD. Why is it nav blue? Why are we not just going straight into nav? We should be going now direct to Gibby, if that's right. We're 29 miles away. Take a mile and a bit off that, of course. Flighter, no need to turn on the probes, they're always on with the engines running. You are correct, however, not in Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Icing is unfortunately severely overdone. If we go flight plan and go direct to Gibby, will that now update? Gibby, temporary direct, insert. Oh, there we go, nav. Ah, new feature. You have to confirm that you want to go there. Interesting. Right, so we've got the landing system on. Yeah, HD, so I clocked that. We obviously got blue nav, so it was armed. But I guess we had to tell us where it was we needed to go. Alt star. Let's just turn the brightness down on that a little bit. On the weather display. Actually, the way that this weather is looking here in the simulator doesn't look like it would at the moment be any sort of auto land, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway, just for the fun of it. So, 13 miles out, we should pick up the localizer. And we'll check out the autoland. They definitely wouldn't need to do any sort of autoland. I can see the runway lights. See those over there? Let's have a look. Has that METAR changed at all? Go back to the dashboard. And visibility is 5/8 of a mile, so it has increased actually. Yeah, really the biggest threat now is the wind. Oh well, at least we'll get to see how the aircraft handles with the wind. To be fair, I think it's still above the minimums for a auto land crosswind. We'll keep the anti-ice on.
Cabin crew, about 15 minutes to landing. If you can prepare the cabin, thank you.
So it's going to be a nice long final anyway. It's going to be a final of around, about 11 miles. 11-mile final. Plenty of time. If this is what the weather looked like, that Dash 8 would have had no problem. Pizzato, yes, thank you. J-Hog confirmed that as well, so that's two of you that spotted that. When I looked back to the sunset, we went back into heading mode. Right, they won't have updated a key binding, will they? Let's have a look. So, I'm just going to go through all my keys. Let's go back into there. No, we're still in heading. Let's have a look. If we go and have a look outside, which is what we did. So here's effectively the extended runway centerline. There's our landing runway. Yeah, I'd be quite happy doing this as a manual landing, but we're all here to see how the aircraft auto lands, aren't we? So we'll go for it. So we're showing 14 miles out. That's actually about 12.7 miles out. So let's go config 1. And let's see what happens then if we now arm the approach. Sometimes if you did this a bit too soon with Microsoft's own autopilot, it would bounce off the beam and not really align you. But this is the custom autopilot, so let's see what happens. Let's arm this now. So, Lockstar Cat 3 single, glide slope blue. Platform altitude is 3,000 feet. Glide slope is now active. Should start to see the localizer moving across any second now. There it is. So now we're on Cat 3 single. Let's go Autopilot 2 and select Cat 3 dual. Autopilot 1 and 2. I promise you guys I hadn't forgot. How many times can we copy and paste? HD, Nightbot's going to smack you in a minute. Glide slope capture. And we're crabbing all the way down now. Okay, let's set flaps 2. And we'll get the gear down as well. So, gears down, spoilers are armed. Get the lights on, ding the cabin. So now, as I mentioned, we could potentially turn off the landing lights just to give us a better visibility. So if we do that, we've got no problem seeing those lights. Okay, getting closer. We can now go speed check. And why are we not flaps 2? We should be flaps 2 already. We called flaps 2. Oh, no issues. We can see. We can see. And flaps full, cabin secured for landing, auto thrust speed, go around altitude set, it's 3,000 feet, and eco memo landing, no blue. Airplane, do your stuff. I could be really brave and watch this live from the outside view, but we're not going to. Jenny's thought, no, I wasn't recording this landing, we're just going to do this live and let it play out. Buster, we are drifting, you're quite right, but that's intentional, because look at the crosswind that we've got. Looking good though. We're now coming in bang on that centre line. Looking really nice, isn't it? We've got land showing on the FMA. We should see flare in a moment. By the time we get to 30 feet. Let's pull the thrust levers back when we hear retard. Did anyone hear the retard call out just then? KC, thank you so very much for your very, very kind donation there. Didn't quite acknowledge that as quickly as normal, just as I was concentrating on that landing. Did anyone hear the retard call out? I was listening to the retard, but it didn't happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated until the aircraft arrives at the gate and the seatbelt signs have been turned on. You are reminded to keep all electronic devices switched off until you have entered the airport terminal. If you enjoyed your flight, you can now join the channel as a member and receive extra perks to make your future flights with us more enjoyable. Once again, a reminder that this is a test version of the Airbus A320 and not yet available for download. Please join us in a round of applause for the wonderful fly-by-wire developers. Thank you.
So, if you don't hear the retard landing, the retard call out, that's the first time. I have tested this quite a few times, and that's the first time I've not heard it call retard. So just to clear something up, normally when you're doing a normal land and you're bringing the aircraft in on your own, by 30 feet, get the thrust idles back to get them back to idle by 30 feet. If you're hearing the retard call out, then it's really a reminder to say you should have already done it. On an auto land, when it does say retard, that is actually a command. Don't do it beforehand. Just do it as soon as you hear it tell you. So there's a subtle difference between the retard call out in an auto land and a non-auto land. But we'll just dump the aircraft here. Oh look, there's even a bus waiting for you guys to to depart. Let's leave that there near the bus, because there's not going to be a ramp. You're going to have to jump off anyway. Right, well, do you know what? I think I could be convinced to fly this aircraft on VATSIM. To be fair, that landing was very, very good, considering it was probably beyond the limits of the, I think, what was the wind doing? Let's just double check, just up on that. So the wind was 28 knots, and it wasn't a full-blown crosswind, but it certainly was a crosswind. And with the auto land, the crosswind of about 20 knots is the limit. So it was also gusting 40. Check that out. It was gusting 40. So I think that we were pushing it to the limits. If we were doing this in the real world, we probably wouldn't have continued. That said, of course, the weather visibility was fine enough just to bring the aircraft in on its own. But even bringing the aircraft on its own, the maximum crosswind landing is 38 knots, and that includes gusts. So I think with those winds, that aircraft did an absolutely fantastic job. I want to say a big thank you to the Fly-by-Wire guys for getting this out, and of course this version is available for you all now to go ahead and download. Make sure you go to the Fly-by-Wire website and download their installer. That is the only way to get this version. You have to download it through their installer. So go ahead and do that, and you're looking to download the experimental version. That experimental version has the custom autopilot in it. Yes, there may be one or two bugs in it, but in fact the only bugs that I saw during this flight were apart from a little left and right weaving along as it found its way towards some of the waypoints. The only other bug was it swapped over to heading mode, didn't it, about halfway through, which we then spotted, thankfully. But other than that, any other errors were complete pilot error, as I've not been going through everything correctly this evening. Captain B, did the aircraft auto flare? Yeah, it did a beautiful touchdown. Really nice touchdown. So guys, I'm going to call it a night there. We're going to finish the stream a little bit earlier on. We're not doing any replays or anything like that. We obviously lose an hour's sleep tonight here in the UK, so instead of it being just coming up to 10:30, in reality it's probably coming up to 11:30 here in the UK. So I want to thank you all very much for watching tonight. Please hit that like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button as well if you enjoyed that. A huge thank you to everyone who's flown with me this evening and stayed with us, and of course to those of you that have donated towards the channel, either via the super chats, donations, etc. And of course, as always, a big thank you to our SimPilot members. If you want to become a channel member, please hit the join button and check out the offers available to you. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I shall see you all again very soon.
Cabin crew, safety disarm the doors, thank you. Cabin crew, aircraft is secure. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, once again, I hope you have enjoyed your flight with us today on this fly-by-wire test flight. On behalf of the Fly-by-Wire development team, I'd like to thank you for supporting the project, and we hope you enjoyed seeing all of the new features that were being displayed today in this Airbus A320NX pre-release version. All of these new additions will soon be merged into the experimental and the developer build. Please take a moment to have a look at the Fly-by-Wire's Discord server for more updates. We wish you a safe and pleasant journey from the airport, and we hope to see you on board again very soon.